This episode is brought to you by Zeta Global. Do you know what it takes to transform marketing into a data-driven profit center? Are you able to align the C-suite around your AI vision and strategy? Zeta Global has the playbook to help you get started. Download Driving Growth in the AI Era today at zetacmo.ai/book. Again, that's zetacmo.ai/book. Welcome to the AdTechGod Pod, your window into the world of advertising technology and the people behind it. I'm your host, AdTechGod. Welcome to the AdTechGod Pod, your go-to for conversations with those who curate. Today, we have Nguyen, the SVP Head of Curation at Consumable. Nguyen is the curation queen, having worked at AdTech prior to joining Consumable. She's worked at Varick, Goodway, and more in her career. Curation has been a hot topic for a while now and will continue to be so. So I'm really excited to be chatting with her about what she's doing at Consumable and how she sees curation playing a large role. Nguyen, welcome to the AdTechGod Pod.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be in the presence of ATG greatness.
Same here, Nguyen. I am honored to be in the presence of the curation queen. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Question for you. I'm not too familiar with Consumable. Before we start, can you just give me a little bit of insights of what Consumable does and what they are as a company in the space?
Yeah, of course. Consumable is an audio-first company. We are building the next-gen audio supplies platform, and I was brought on to build Consumable's next-gen audio curation business.
And you previously worked at AdTech, so you have a lot of background in curation. Why don't you just take me back from when you worked at Goodway and Varick and how you reached where you are today, really leading on curation and having a title that has curation in it?
Yeah, it was totally accidental. I don't think that any children growing up would say, I want to grow up and be a curation person or to work in advertising. But, here I am. I
like the rest of us.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be a policeman or a firefighter, but here we are creating PMPs. But, it was totally an accidental. I kind of fell into this career. I started at Goodway Group when programmatic was this weird, mysterious thing that nobody fully understood. I was this wide-eyed newcomer asking, what's an attribution model? What is header bidding? What's a PMP? And the funny thing is, everyone was still figuring it out too. And I still think that they're just all figuring things out together as we go. And yeah, Goodway was my first stop, and I thought I'd retire there. It was a remote first gig way before that was cool. We're talking early 2000s. But then this recruiter from Varick, called me with this opportunity that sounded amazing. But the only catch that I would have to move to New York City. I mean, here's the thing. At 16, I'd already traveled 9,000 miles to America with just a backpack and a dream, like a lot of immigrants out there. Came here for college. And mind you, the radius of the globe is about 8,000 miles. So I literally travel halfway around the world to chase my dream. It wasn't AdTech, to be honest, but...
We don't choose this life. The life chooses us, Nguyen.
Exactly. So, I thought, well, that's another 1,000 miles, right? But talk about culture shock. The New York City pace was insane. Everyone there was the smartest person that you've ever met, and the kind of place where you check your ego at the door every morning and basically have to relearn everything daily. It was intense.
You must have learned a ton, moving into, I think it was Varick and then Goodway.
It was Goodway and then Varick. And then
Varick. And then when you joined AdTech and AdTech was recently acquired, I'm sure curation was still a buzzword, if you want to call it that. And now it's definitely not a buzzword. It's definitely something that a lot of companies are focused on. How is curation, I guess, different at Audigent than it is at Consumable, where you're audio focused?
And, to be honest, I was spinning for months, right? Going from a lower pace company like Goodway, where, you work at home, to Varick, which is, like kombucha and tap, everybody at the ping pong table discussing, the next best thing, and GDPR and Apple News privacy policy, changing everything, right? So I got my footing eventually, and it was super fun. I learned a lot. And, during that whole time, the one constant in all of that hectic life was the fact that we all knew that we were the beginning of the end for third-party cookies. So I wanted to get closer to the data side. So I work at, a holding co-environment and then in-house role. They were all data focused, but I felt like I was just scratching the surface, and I was really hunting for the next solution to this massive, ad tech puzzle in this identity landscape. And everything changed at Audigent, because suddenly I wasn't just implementing strategy. I was actually creating the playbook. And, at the time, curation wasn't even a word in AdTech. That I haven't really heard of it until then. And the Xander team kind of gave us the idea to call it that. And, shout out to my Xander team, who, really was the founder of a lot of things. They all have that founder spirit and expert in their own fields. And we work together to create the industry first true curation platform. So, at Audigent, I learned a lot. We created new things, and that's what really excites me. I wanted to create a new product. I want to create a new solution that isn't just going to be, just another tech vendors that, creating something to carve out margin. It was actually seeking a solution to a lot of problems. And, I really enjoy that. And I saw basically the biggest opportunity of my career. So I started building these relationships with SSPs. We developed custom audiences together from complex data sets. Audigent was first and foremost a DMP or data management or monetization platform. We created solutions that actually deliver on not just the data-driven promise, but also supplies that are premium and perform. And the one thing that I found during my time at Audigent is that as curation became the industry buzzword, a lot of people are still very confused about it. There's not a lot of education about what curation really means. It's not just a site list or, something that you slap the word premium on it and push it out the door, because everybody overused the word premium. When everyone say we have something premium, it loses its meaning. And we found that the really true core of curation is not in the supply or in the data, but the expertise of the curators who find the best suited solutions, match it with the best suited supply, package it in an elegant and neat EMPs for buyers to easily target, easily optimize, and to easily reach out to us, the curators, to say, I need more performance on these specific goals, and we would optimize toward that. So in a sense, we found that the true essence of curation is in the expert who actually package and optimize these campaigns. Like, let's just say curation traders.
How do you think that differs from the audio space? Because now you're focused on audio, specifically audio. Do you find that the same signals, similar KPIs, similar measurement solutions are out there? And is curation playing as big of a role in audio as such a fast growing section of our industry or sector of our industry?
A lot of audio, and great question, because a lot of audio is still very much serving on outdated platform. Let's say, in eMarketer just reported that programmatic digital audio spending will hit about $2 billion this year. But here's the kicker. Only 30% of digital audio ad dollars are currently flowing through programmatic channel. And that signals a huge, massive untapped potential. Consumable, we're trying to build a bridge to kind of connect the tech gap between the classic audio business and the programmatic buyers. It's fascinating to me because, like I said, I want to build a product that bridges the gap, just like, Uber build their rideshare product that bridges the gap between, having to physically go out on the street and wave a taxi, to Airbnb, who build a product that bridge a lot of gap in, lack of space or lack of unique locations that provide a more custom solutions for buyers. So in the audio space, if you think about it, there are billions and billions being spent in this industry. And while the marketers are pouring money into increasingly crowded video channels, there's this quieter revolution unfolding in digital audio that I don't think anybody is really paying attention to. I mean, it's the same reason that we're here today on the AdTechGod Pod. When big things happen.
It's growing quickly. I mean, the space is growing quickly. Spotify just announced their exchange. And I think one thing that I often don't think about when it comes to audio is that audio is not just Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, but it's across streaming devices. It's across smart devices. It's across all types of formats. So when you look at audio at scale, like there's a lot of scale there.
It's so much scale. And that's what we're trying to build, is a way for buyers to more easily buy audio ads, more targetable and more addressable audio ads. That's something that we are very focused on building. If you think about it, in the morning when I wake up, I would have 2 or 3 podcasts that I listen to. When big things happen, people turn to audio. We saw this play out during the recent elections and sporting events like Super Bowl and March Madness, all the tentpoles. There's a podcast about it. And, that massive untapped potential in an uncluttered environment in audio. Now, think about the 75% of US adults that listen to spoken word audio monthly. That's 20% of the Americans' daily media time, 4 hours daily. I mean, I don't know if you listen to podcasts for 4 hours daily, but you listen to maybe an hour or 2 on podcasts, a few on radio, and some more on, even some people are listening to YouTube, but, they leave their phone on the counter to, clean the kitchen, and they listen to mostly the audio part of it. So, the audience is already there. The tech is already there, just waiting for brands to show up.
Why do you think brands are not investing as much in audio in comparison to something like connected television? Because the traditional radio industry is sizable. The digital audio industry, I would assume, I don't have stats in front of me, is growing at ridiculous rates because I don't even listen to the radio anymore. I stream everything. Why do you feel like those budgets haven't completely shifted or increased over the last, few years?
I think it's just always a educational gap. I think there's also this misconception that visual is always better, but the value prop for audio is compelling. Audio ads deliver similar emotional impact and educational benefits as video, if not more. often at significantly more efficient price. And we ask the question why, but behind the scene, there's a lot of work that's being done to educate buyers. And typically, I think there's a barrier to entry that everyone think that if they want to buy an audio ads, that they have to book a podcast episode, pay upfront $5,000, $10,000 for one episode run. Whereas, the reality is you can actually buy podcasts programmatically and target the right audience. So it doesn't just serve on all of the podcast audience. It might just serve on like specific contextual categories. And like what Consumable has done is we analyze podcasts at the episode level to figure out the sentiment behind certain podcasts. And this was important during the political season and will become more relevant because you don't want to just target, politics or left-leaning or right-leaning. They want to target, more issue-based, and buyers are becoming more sophisticated. So, if you are ATG, you have, let's say, millions of listeners, including me, but you only want to target female listeners who lived in certain part of the countries who are interested in, certain aspect of the audio podcast program. There's a way for us to segment these audiences and target them now. Previously, I think that the advertisement of, people were more adverse to buying audio is because the uncertainty and the lack of targeting.
Where do you think things are heading as it relates to audio or just digital advertising overall? Making audio more addressable or addressable is obviously a goal, but what direction do you see the industry moving in the next 12 to 18 months, especially considering all the political climate, all the stresses that we have on the economy? Where do you see the most potential as it relates to this space?
Yeah, I think that I've heard the word efficiency a lot lately. And for forward-thinking brands, I think the opportunity is very clear in the near future, in the next, just few weeks or few months as you planning your Q2, Q3, and your holiday dollars. You need to connect with engaged audience in an environment with less competition, more attentive listeners, and 2 billion audio market. It's just the beginning. I think that you're looking at an uncluttered space for advertisers who understand the opportunity. And that opportunity is clearly audio to me. And I believe that curation is the bridge for AdTech that's been missing. Our curated PMPs, like I said, are just merely sightless with some vague promises of premium. What we've done here is building the bridge to connect the invisible tech gap. And we've broken down walls. We help agencies and brands navigate very fragmented identity landscape and very outdated audio ad serving technologies. We're not just talking about, better targeting. We're creating an entirely new approach to audio that delivers performance.
As a podcaster and who looks at my stats religiously, it's something I look at on a daily basis. It is pretty incredible to know that the targeting is so targeted towards an audience, right? My podcast is primarily focused on people, the ad tech space, the advertising space, and I go listen to other pods and they're focused on other topics. The level of focus I have when I listen to a podcast is definitely higher than when I watch TV. And the reason is because I'm usually listening to podcasts while I drive, which means I have no other distractions other than making sure I brake at a red light and not hit anyone. The rest of the time, my brain is really focused on listening to what's being said, like I'm having a conversation with someone in a car. As a podcaster, I really do think that the value in podcasting and audio in particular is really good.
Yeah. If I were a brand, let's say Spectrum, they come to mind as I've seen tons of Spectrum business CTV ads recently, especially on Amazon. I have complaints about, the CTV frequency cap, but think about it. If you could serve a CTV ad during dinner hours tonight and break out that frequency cap, accompany that with a business podcast ad during the next day's commute hours, someone who listened to NPR News, WSJ, or the AdTechGod podcast, someone who's paying attention to what they're hearing, how much more powerful could that be?
The whole industry seems to be underrepresented. I have friends who work at Spotify. It seems like the focus to increase ad spend on audio isn't where it should be. I think CTV gets a lot of the limelight, but like you mentioned earlier, just a knowledge gap in what the capabilities are, the targeting is, and what you focus on, which is, the curation that's needed to get the right audience at the right time on the right content.
And that's very well said. I am a very transparent person, and I think that the audio industry need to sit together, not in silo. I would invite everyone to the table to think about how we can bring the most value to the buyers out there. Yeah, when I was a media buyer, I found that often ad tech products were not built with the end users in mind, because if they had, the industry wouldn't be so confusing and complicated. I think curation could change that. I truly believe that curation is an elegant solution to the fragmented problem of ad tech. And, if you think about it, like as buyers, what if you don't have to learn every single new tool to be at the top of your field or to keep up? And as publishers and vendors, what if you don't have to build a brand new client-facing UI every time? Like if I were Brian O'Kelly, I would build Scope 3's go-to-market strategy as a neat and curated solution that everyone who has access to any DSP can tap into. And if I were building a retail media network or Spotify or whatever the next big ad tech product would be, I would build them as a curated product.
So that being said, what do you think excites you the most in regards to the innovation? You mentioned Scope 3. They're obviously building out some products. What kind of excites you about new technologies rolling out? Are you focused a lot on, utilization of AI for curation? Are you excited about new formats coming out? What kind of gets you excited for the future?
I think that generally I'm an optimist, so I'm excited about a lot of things. When someone announces a new product, I say, great. If it works, it brings more efficiency, it brings more values to the industry, great. I'm excited about Scope 3 because, environmental impact is always top of mind for everyone, especially with the immersion of AI. I think that digital out of homes is going to be also one of the next big things, especially audio enable out of homes screens. I think that any solutions that we can work with to bring more values, to reduce our footprint in terms of, environmental footprint, I would welcome all the challenges and all the change. It forces us to innovate. It forces us to compete. And I think that the side that should benefit from all of this is the buyers and the brands. I want to create a product that, not just make the most money possible, but, I want to make the job of a buyer easier, speaking from, a true person who started from the buy side.
Amazing. Thank you, Nguyen, again, for being here today. And thank you for joining as my guest. And thank you to David Broglevy for the recommendation. Great person. I really appreciate you taking time out today.
Yes, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Same here. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the AdTechGod Pod, a podcast for the people, about the people. Stay connected with me for more insights, trends, and interviews in the realm of AdTech. Don't miss out on the latest updates, so follow me on X, Instagram, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't forget, ATG Slack community has insights, networking opportunities, and jobs. keep the conversation going and stay at the forefront of AdTech innovation.